Good evening. It's Monday, March 27th, 2023 at 6 o'clock in the Susan Tully Livesley Boardroom of the 1887 building. And I'd like to call the meeting to order. May you please call the roll.
Mr. Gayhardt.
Here.
Mr. Gatton.
Here.
Mrs. Ingersoll.
Here.
Mr. Martell.
Here.
O'Donnell is excused. Mrs. Ray.
Here.
Mr. Scarrow.
Here.
And Ms. Colton and Ms. Williams are excused as well.
The meeting has been noticed per state statute. Do we have any community participation tonight? Anybody who wants to speak publicly or has submitted? Jason, have there been any?
I have not received any requests.
Okay, so it looks like there's somebody who would like to speak. Before you speak, I need to just read a statement. It's a reminder for any citizen that is speaking during community participation to complete the sign-in sheet if you haven't already by the door to accurately provide the administration with name, address, phone number, and email. This will help us with any follow-up if needed. Finally, the community participation period is an important time for the Board of Education to hear concerns, gratitude, etc. of its constituents. That said, prior to making a statement, please announce your name. And then also be aware that each speaker bears the personal risk if anything they say during community participation in the school board meeting is defamatory, slanderous, or otherwise harmful to another individual. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm Lori Kyle. I am a longtime citizen, parent, and business owner in Elkhorn. I have to balance my budget and my business and control costs. We reject an operational budget. It is important to make the necessary cutbacks in the existing budget because it isn't balancing. We are referendum happy at times in Elkhorn and have allowed a lot of referendums to go through that represent some shiny new things that seem idolized. The staff appears to be top heavy with salaries and benefits budgets, and the people that create the budgets certainly need checks and balances, and that is a process that we did work in Elkhorn and kept us very solvent. As a school board and superintendent need to balance our budget, and we need to be careful not to use the taxpayers of Elkhorn School District as an ATM machine. Our teachers are working with our most prized possessions, and they aren't being treated properly. They are overloaded and have expectations that are unreasonable for any worker. The children, in turn, are neglected by some of the shiny arcades of bells and whistles, and for that we should all be worried. Lowering expectations in the classroom and skirting by with mediocre test scores is not okay. This is fiscally irresponsible. When the budget doesn't balance, we don't go and just add more debt. All of us are supporting this community, but the citizens are not expected, nor will we carry these useless programs and added costs that are not directly related to student success. Please go back to the drawing board. Elkhorn Area School Board and Mr. Tadlock, please remember our children are our most important commodity and are the future. We say we work together and raise a child in this village, then please let's do this.
My name is Melissa Bollinger. I wanted to address the board with my concerns as a parent and taxpayer in the Elkhorn Area School District. This referendum is coming to the community at a time when we are still paying off 3 prior referendums, which proves the community's support of our wonderful town and its schools. These 2 new referendums would cost each household more than the previous 3 combined. It is extremely concerning that we have a $40 million debt balance, and now $30 million are being asked for from the community. Our enrollment is flat, but the operational costs continue to rise. I'm not an expert on finances or school budgets, but this math is not good. If something is not done, we will be in the same position in 5 years as we are now. Difficult decisions need to be made, and the sooner that we can balance our budget and work with the funds we have, the better. According to our most recent forward exam scores from the 2021 to 2022 school year, 53.8% of our 3rd through 8th grade students are not proficient in English language arts, and 51.2% of those same students are not proficient in math. We need to get back to the basics. Somehow our focus seems to have shifted. We seem to be chasing the shiny new things that are extremely expensive and are not producing results. It appears that we spend a significant amount of money on programs like Avid, Brain Pop, Oveus, Second Step, and others, yet we don't have curriculum materials for academic subjects and teachers have to self-curate their materials to teach. Threatening to cut 70 teachers if the referendum doesn't pass does not make sense. Our teachers are the ones who have the most direct impact on our students. How does a school district get themselves in such a position that cutting 70 teachers is even something that is considered? Our priorities do not seem to be focused on the best interests of our students. Our school district has hired wonderfully qualified teachers, but we are having a hard time retaining them because they are extremely frustrated. The community should not be put in a negative light by asking questions. We want our students to succeed and our teachers to be supported. More money does not equal more student success.
My name is Teresa Boger. First of all, I would like to thank you for holding an informational meeting last week for the community on this referendum. Just a few comments that stuck with me since that meeting. Besides the fact that my taxes will be going up about $900 a year. First, I heard several people talking after leaving that night that they may have to sell their home. What a shame that would be for this community. Second was the question, well, what happens after 5 years? The answer provided was, we'll probably be in another referendum. That's unbelievable to me. Third, the comment about, well, what 70 positions would we cut? 70 positions would not need to be cut. Could some? Absolutely be cut. Could some programs? Absolutely. This is not acceptable. It's time we get a school board and administration that controls the spending and hiring. Stop creating positions for people with no money to pay them. It's a shame. This community does not want or need this operational referendum. And this isn't about kids. It's about not being able to control our spending. Why is it we all have to live within our means, but this district does not?
Anyone else? Thank you. We're not allowed to comment, so we correct. That's so we'll go to the overnight travel request from the FCCLA, and Jason's going to be presenting this.
Okay, yeah, with spring break, our FCCLA advisors are out of town, but with the timeliness for the state conference that was coming up, asked them to go ahead and put that together. We could share it with the board. This is the event, that they do each year. April 3rd through the 5th is the state leadership meetings. There's in the board packet an overview of the event and what they're taking. In regards to, I'm guessing this has got to be a typo because we're not putting 10 students.
Well, that was one of my questions.
Yeah, or the advisors sharing in the one for the students.
Yes.
Yeah. I could be wrong, and well, they are up at the Dell, so it could be a condo or larger, and I have to double check on that, which from the overall cost standpoint, though, typically they always, sometimes there are some.
Sure.
They have the registrations and then the car rental and the cost charge.
So I guess my questions were, the hotel rooms for that amount of people. It said based on 10 students and then 2 advisors, but 14 registrations. So that would, I didn't know if that was a typo as well. And then I'm just a little bit questioning the car rental. Is that something that it's the Dells in 45 minutes away? Can we get a van?
They're probably renting through the van because we can't transport more than 8 students in the vehicle. And the other alternative is they either use their personal vehicles and they do a mileage reimbursement, which some people aren't comfortable with, their insurance coverage and so forth. So it's pretty common on these sort of student events and so forth to do the rental, and that comes out a lot cheaper than doing a bus, which goes there and then stays up there.
Right. And just wondering if the car rental also includes gas or,
No, that would probably be in addition to the reimbursement for the vehicle car rental.
okay. So, it said that they were, remaining balance will be covered by fundraising efforts.
Yeah, so the
So-
FCCLA has an annual budget. They also do fundraising through their, often it's their catering that they do related to their, their service organization or their club.
Yeah.
And to offset that. And then I know they've, like at the national one, they've submitted and, to other organizations as well, including the Education Foundation. And to offset some of those costs.
Okay. Yeah, on the national one, they said that they could have potentially 8 students, and yet again, they're indicating 2 rooms for 6 nights for 10 people. And I thought that was a little odd as well. Since most rooms are only able to fit 4, unless they're doing a rollaway or something.
Would like the national one isn't until July, so we could, the one that's critical that they need action on
Yeah.
would be the state level. We could always stay with the national and have them come back and present to make a report on the state.
Yeah,
Which they typically do anyway. You're
We'll
gonna
see.
have to report back in April.
Here's my question. So I'm looking at the hotel for the national one versus the hotel for the current one. The hotel for the national one is $3,000 for
$250 a
6
night.
nights, for 6 nights, right?
Yeah,
For 2 rooms. Then the one for this weekend or the upcoming weekend or 2 weekends from now is just shy of that, about $1,000 shy of that. And it's for, it looks like 2
2 nights.
2 nights. That's,
I know.
that had for only 2 rooms. I
Yeah,
mean,
Yeah, I'm a little,
there's gotta be some there's gotta be some type of error here, in terms of like maybe a typo of some sort, but it just, I mean,
yeah, the math's not working.
$1,000 for 2 nights per room that's expensive
Well, it would be $500
per
per
night.
night.
Yeah, right, $1,000 for 2 nights, yeah. Per room, but that's,
Yeah, I guess I'd like, I don't know. I personally, I think I would, based on what I'm seeing here, I'm having trouble with the numbers.
in 14 registrations, 2 of them being advisors. So that would mean 12 students, theoretically. I mean,
I need more clarification on what
because 12 students packed in one room, again, that's also,
hotel rooms.
because I mean, one room is supposed to be for advisors only, I would assume, based off of what they've read.
Yeah, and I don't have the answer to that.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah, of course.
I know when we've done events up in the Dells, depending on the resort that they're at, if they're at the Kalahari, then they likely chose, because it is more economical, sometimes or just as economical to book them in one of the condos rather than booking
Sure.
10 different or 5 different rooms
Sure.
for the event for the 2 nights. And that price does fall in line with what those run, about $1,000 a night, plus whatever their fee is.
Is that what this would look like then?
That's what that would look like, and then they would all be able to be housed in one area, but I'm just speculating. I don't know the answer to that.
Of course.
So the option would be to approve and ask them to report back on that. They've run this event for years. They've always run it effectively and within their budgets and organize that and ask them to report back on that. And
Bottom line-
the other option would be to table it and schedule a special meeting of the board on April 3rd.
I don't want to do that.
But that's the date they're supposed to be headed up.
Correct. Bottom line, is it costing the kids, it's costing the kids $100 a
Correct.
kid. Is that what I'm getting?
Correct.
in the FCCLA through their
And the rest is being financed through the
Fundraising, yeah.
FCCLA
through their
fundraising.
fundraising through the budget. So it's $100 for the kids for that.
Do they
And I
have,
apologize with this being on spring break, but
yeah, are all the kids able to come up with that money or?
they, yeah, like the other events, either they would help out if there's the finances would stay the way it's running. All of our organizations do that, we make sure that it's covered. But it is an organization where the kids, they actively work and participate in raising their funds.
So, I'm gonna end my comments right here, which is, I'm not gonna be the one to hold this up. I think this is a great opportunity for the kids. I would like to be able to see the numbers in person or when they come back.
Yeah.
Because that's a considerable amount of money for what we're looking at for that time period. And then the other question that I have on top of that is, this is starting next week. Why are we just receiving it now?
Yeah, I was kind of frustrated by that as well.
Because I mean, obviously we have questions which could have been answered prior to today.
Right.
Yeah, and I can redirect them. This is something, it's an event that we know that's happening every year. I don't know if it was because they didn't know how many students are going to have attending the event, depending on the numbers, but I think the board's always operated with being okay with a little bit of nebulousness, like when FFA comes in the fall and they ask for the approval of all their events. They don't know how many kids are going to go to each event. They just know the basics of it. And the reason they even come is because the board has a policy that approval needs to be made for overnight travel. And so that's that focus to, does the board approve the overnight travel of the event or not? And a lot of the events, if they go earlier, they can't even get to that level of detail because they don't know which hotels are using or how they're going to get there. But it's that approval of the overnight travel which the board has to.
Okay, so then I guess I apologize. And maybe one final question. So they are not asking us for any funds at this current time, correct?
No.
Okay, all right.
No, they're not asking for
Okay.
no funds from the school board. It's just,
Per policy, they have to get approval for the overnight travel.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes more sense.
But we can ask them to come back and report and because they weren't here to present on that. And they'll typically come back after the state event, let the board know how many students were going and they're planning on going to nationals. We could ask them to go and present the national one separate for approval and have that report.
I would like that if possible.
yeah, absolutely.
Sounds good.
So,
Question.
yeah, need a motion.
Can we just separate them first?
No, I'll put it all right. Well,
Okay.
I'll move the overnight travel request to the Dallas for the FCCLA as presented, contingent on a full reconciliation of the spendings for that event. And then as part of that report, I'll report on the anticipated expenses for the national convention.
Second.
Any further discussion? All right, we have a motion to approve the overnight travel request from the FCCLA as presented, and then for them to come back and report on the trip to the Dells and present the request for the July event at that time.
Mr. Gayheart,
Yes.
Mr. Gatton,
Yes.
Mrs. Ingersoll,
Yes.
Mr. Martell,
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Carroll.
Yes.
Okay, approval of the school board minutes from March 13th. Does anybody have any comments or corrections?
I don't have it.
Okay. Need a motion to approve?
I move to approve the minutes of the March 13th, 2023 regular session school board meeting as presented.
Second? There's been a motion to approve the minutes of the March 13th, 2023 regular session school board meeting as presented. Roll call vote.
Mr. Gayheart,
Yes.
Mr. Gatton?
Yes.
Mrs. Ingersoll?
Yes.
Mr. Martell?
Yes.
Ray?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
General and other fund bills.
The general and other fund bills this evening covers check number 148874 through 148992, wire numbers 817 and 822 through 826, ACH numbers 592 to 621, debt service numbers 757 through 760, and options project wire 821, with a combined amount of $4,556,696.43. Debt service was the largest component. We pay our debt service twice a year, so this would be for the April payment. So the April we do interest principal, then October we do just interest payments.
Are there any questions for Mr. Jordan?
I have one quick one. New iPads for the elementary schools.
Yep.
There
are iPads, I think, for each of the elementaries. I think there are 10 for each of the elementaries, so they use them like at the K2 level, the iPads.
They primarily in the library, and the library receives common school funds from the state that they derive from the other and use that. And that's what it is.
A number of the purchases you may have seen of the common school funds this year. So we receive those funds or are notified in January. So it's kind of late in terms of not knowing how much funds we're going to get. So that's why you see some of those purchases coming through this time of year.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of the common school funds are from the state-owned, the forestry and the paper
Yep.
mill and
And
that
Pino fines.
product. And
Yes, it was the first state aid in Wisconsin. It was created in 1848. So the idea was to provide libraries to all of the schools within the state.
And that was the same capstone as the same.
Yep. Bill, what is MJ Care?
MJ Care, the company that provides specialized services.
Okay.
So they also do Medicaid reimbursement. We use them for that purpose, but for this particular invoice, with OT, occupational therapy services for students.
Any other questions? If not, then need a motion to approve.
I move to approve the general and other fund bills of March 27th, 2023. Check numbers 148874 to 148992. Wire numbers 817 and 822 to 826. ACH numbers 592 to 621. Debt service wire numbers 757 to 760. And options project wire 821. In the combined amount of $4,556,696.43 as presented.
Second. It's been moved and accepted to approve the general and other fund bills of March 27th, 2023. Check numbers 148874 to 148992. Wire numbers 817 and 822 to 826. ACH numbers 592 to 621. Debt service wire numbers 757 to 760 and options project wire 821 in the combined amount of $4,556,696.43 as presented. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Gaynor?
Yes.
Mr. Gatton?
Yes.
Mrs. Ingersoll?
Yes.
Mr. Martell?
Yes.
Mrs. Ray?
Yes.
And Mr. Scarrow?
Yes.
Okay, we are going to table the student representative report tonight because it's spring break and neither one of them are here. So Mr. Tadlock, referendum update.
All right, as far as the referendum update, we've completed our community presentations and requests. We had the community forum, and I felt like probably had our best turnout that we've had in any of the prior forums that we've ever had on any of the referendums in the past. So there's a good turnout there. and a lot of great questions asked. So that's where we're going from.
Moving on to personnel. We have a personnel recommendation sheet.
All right. I want to thank Stacy Marshall Williams, Jacqueline Quist, Sydney Jones for their service to the school district in their respective positions. And then we have the appointment of a number of new staff members. Trevin Kelleher is a middle school social studies position, so to replace Kathleen McFarland for the coming year. Christina Ekman, who is an elementary teacher. We have a number of positions open due to retirement, and then we'll do after all of our resignations or the transfers are in, and we'll place her in one of those open positions. And also Daniel Stilling and Vince on this will both be over at the middle school filling the positions, and they're listed as to be determined. That's just based on when we have, there's a number of retirements there, and we put in the internal teacher requests, and so they're finalizing those, and then both Dan and Vince, who are certified to teach in any of the positions, will be filling in those positions over there. I think something unique that we're seeing with the new educators coming out of college, which is a huge benefit, is both Christina, Daniel, and Vince are dual certified in special education and regular education, which UW Whitewater started that trend, but Daniel Stilling is of UW Madison as well, and they're doing that now too. So that gives a lot of flexibility moving forward in caseload management and how we utilize the teachers. Then we have Glenn Hess as a district office custodian, Stephanie Hess as a options custodian, and Matthew Henley as a high school assistant track coach.
Jason, can you remind me on Kathleen McFarland, did she retire or, okay.
She retired.
Okay.
So the three individuals that we have currently on standby, those individuals, if I'm understanding you correctly, are waiting for the summer retirements to happen.
No, the retirements have already happened. They're just waiting for the internal shifting. Because we put out, here's the open positions, and someone who teaches middle school math might want to teach middle school science where Mr. Nightingale's retired from.
Gotcha.
So then the team always allows the teachers to put in those considerations, and if it's a good fit, they accommodate that.
So basically the individual retires, then a first shot is given to the teachers that are currently there if they wish to switch over to whatever subject that may be.
Yeah.
And then these three individuals are to take over the spots that are currently open afterwards.
Correct.
Okay.
And it has to be a good fit and
Yeah.
match their certification.
Okay.
Can I have a motion to?
I'd like to add to that, kind of adding on to exactly what we just did. I think this is a time where we have to be very cautious as how we move forward. At a time in the public referendum meeting where the statement was made that up to 70 positions could be cut, any to be determined vacancies with outside individuals causes further dissension amongst the current staff. I don't know that we can do that anticipating what things are going to happen until we know factually what positions are open. This does not look good. Appointments versus hiring. Were these positions, we don't know what they were they posted on weekend? Are they open for others to apply towards? It seems that these positions are somewhat nefarious acts, and I don't want to, as we go towards this referendum, put any other ills into our community. And that is how it's being seen.
Well, that's unfortunate, Paul, because you were one of the school board members who also approved the 5 futures contracts to be used on hiring talented staff that we bring on board that goes through student teaching or long-term subs. This would be 4 of those 5 slots that was approved by the school board several months ago, yourself included.
But they've been basically appointed, so they have a salary and a benefit package already proposed to them, even though they don't know what they'll be doing. They may be surpassing a veteran teacher within our district, and yet we don't know what position they're going to be in. That just doesn't sit very well amongst many of the current staff members. And to do that until we know exactly what positions, I cannot support that. That's just a blank check, open book, I'll do as I want thing. And we can't be seen that way.
That's inaccurate, Paul, and the way you're categorizing it is inaccurate.
I'm sorry.
A beginning teacher's salary commensurate with their experience and their certifications. And they're filling positions that are, 2 would be at the middle school and 1 at the elementary school.
So Jason, these 3 positions, these 3 have already technically been hired, correct?
Correct. They've been issued contracts. The board authorized the hiring of 5 teachers on what we call futures contracts, technically before we even have the openings, because we know that we have 20 to 28 teacher openings a year. And that was done back in, I believe, December or January when that was approved. We purposely held and waited on this, 1, to vet to make sure that they were good fits, but 2, to make sure that we also have the open positions.
What are these 3 individuals currently doing?
They're
Something here. I know.
2 are long-term subs and 1 is and the other 2 are student teachers.
Okay, so they're long-term subs and student teachers currently.
Yeah, and they're also recent graduates from college. So they're coming in at the lowest salary cap, salary.
Yeah, they're not
position.
displacing any veteran salaries or anything like that.
Are they going to be in the special ed department then? As certified teachers, as paraprofessionals, what are their exact titles going to be?
This would be a special education teacher, and instilling a regular education teacher. The other 2 are regular education teachers, even though they're dual certified. We could shift them to a special education opening if needed, but that's the only reason why they're to be determined was listed there, is we want to make sure we have the best fit down the road, and that still gives us the flexibility, not because we don't have the open positions.
So, and I apologize because I'm new to all this, so I'm just trying to get all the information.
Sure.
Traditionally, every year we get about 20 to 25 or 25 to 28 people retiring, leaving to attrition, things like that, correct?
Correct.
And these 3 are meant to help offset that before, but basically before the retirement can actually happen, correct?
That was the possibility, was for that to be able to happen before those positions were even open, in order to enable us to keep local talent, or not just local talent, but talented individuals that we saw that would be good additions to the team. If we wait until April, May, they get snatched up.
So we're basically, so when those retirements become official, if they haven't become official already, right? So at the end of the school year, when those retirements become official and the 25 to 28 positions open up, these 3 individuals will take 3 of those spots, and then potentially we may have to hire another 20 or so.
There's 4, right? Currently it's 4 that we're proposing, but we already have, I believe, 9 official retirements. Yeah.
So we would still have to add.
And I would anticipate on average, we usually have 20 to 28 professional staff positions that open up.
Okay. And so final question, hopefully for me. In short, this is basically trying to offset those before the retirements actually happen. That's what we're trying to do here, is just try to get that talent that you're currently seeing coming out of, in this case, Whitewater and Madison, and just making sure that they are now have a position here rather than going off to say Madison or Milwaukee or some other larger.
Some other schools.
Yeah, and each of these teachers have had other job offers, have other opportunities. They want to be here in Elkhorn. And if we don't, what we've had happen in the past is we just wait until we post the position. And we end up, it's part of the reason why we have an average staff age of over 47 years. And when you look at our compensation, our health insurance rating, it's very high, in part because we very rarely have young staff available by the time we get into that hiring process.
Right.
And what we're seeing in the market is a lot more aggressive pursuit of those new teachers coming out of school and out of the education field because there is a shortage. There's less of them graduating. And so this just puts what the board approved was up to 5 slots out of, about 1/5 of what we typically hire in a year. This matter so that we can continue to, build that pool, but also, build that pool of young staff as well and then get a better mix within those demographics.
So theoretically, with hiring on these 3 individuals specifically, at least in the short term, at the very minimum, we would be saving money for the school district.
Yes.
Because we won't be having to wait until April or the summer where we're having to potentially try to poach veteran teachers from different school districts, correct? Is that what I'm hearing and understanding?
Yes, their contracts are roughly almost $20,000 under the district average salary amount. Yes, it's in line and it's commensurate with their years of experience, but because our average staff age is so high, I believe our average
And
staff
longevity in the school
compensation is
district.
around 65,500, I believe.
So overall, approximately, of course, I mean, all these numbers change, but approximately, at least in the short term, $60,000 a year would be saved because we're hiring these 3 individuals versus waiting for.
Yeah, 4 individuals.
Oh, I'm sorry, 4. I'm sorry, I keep saying 3 on here.
You could say it's, I can pull the personnel sheet back up. Trevin, Christina, Daniel, and then.
Okay, so Kevin's already, because the other ones say TBD, the only one
Yeah,
that isn't is Trevin, correct?
yeah, Trevin's already been assigned to the, Mrs. Department.
Gotcha.
6th grade social studies.
Okay, so he already has a position already ready to go. Gotcha. All right. Okay, that makes sense.
And none of these are in positions that could be utilized by attrition or savings or the within core classroom areas.
Right.
And so the younger we go, the cheaper costs for the teacher salaries overall year to year becomes, correct?
Correct, but it also, these individuals aren't extended contracts until we have the opportunity to see them work, see them on staff and, have them vetted, which is better vetting process than any interview process.
Well, these 3 individuals have been given a contract. Is that what I'm hearing?
They've been given a contract, but all contracts aren't final until the board approves.
Okay.
Do any of their certifications or qualifications meet with any of the openings that we know exist?
That's all.
Joanne Pella is leaving. Do any of them have her credentials, certification, qualifications? Stephanie Bratz is leaving. Do any of them have the certifications, qualifications to replace that? The ones that we know are leaving, do any of the to be determined people have the qualifications, certifications, or background to fill those known entities?
Of them do, Paul, yes. We have Natalie Marzal, who retired from the elementary level. Christina Ekman has that elementary certification. The only reason why we didn't list for that position is because there may be other retirements at a lower level and her preference would be at that lower level. It's just waiting to make that final determination. Both Vince Umnitz and Dan Stilling also have the certifications to fill retirements that have taken place at the middle school. The only reason why they weren't given the specific position listed was because we're waiting to see the internal shifting and where the other teachers want to be placed. And it would be, I feel, poor taste to list a position that may shift or create greater concern with a teacher. Well, I wanted to be considered for that. So that's out of respect for allowing Mr. McBurney to go through that process and place those teachers.
When do we go through that process of letting the teachers kind of put in their
As soon as the positions open up, we list that and let them know that there's these open positions. We did not post the other external positions pending, the referendum, and then also the budget retreat, you can see what the board wants to do with current open positions, because there is a lot of pride in the district that we've never had to lay off a position and reduce in that manner, that we've always been able to use attrition. So we don't want to take that opportunity away from the board for that discussion. Otherwise, we would have posted all of the positions typically right away to try to fill those.
So what positions at the middle school do we know of right now?
We have Mr. Neinfeld's position,
So that's science, right?
Mrs. Broad's position, which you,
Is math, right?
yeah, she's middle school math. And is there another one? McFarland's.
Yeah, and the third one is the elementary position. So,
And those we know of, if I'm adding correctly, so we know of 4 positions currently, and those 4 positions are potentially already filled.
We have more than 4, but yeah.
Yeah, we have
four
9, I believe, right now.
9 retirements.
Okay.
9 retirements. Any other discussion? Not, I'm going to entertain a motion.
I move to approve the personnel recommendation sheet for March 27, 2023, including the employment contract conditioned upon passing the background check and district mandated drug screening as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second for to approve the personnel recommendation sheet for March 27th, 2023, including new employment contracts, conditioned upon passing the background check and district mandated drug screening as presented. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Gayheart. Mr. Gavin.
Yes.
Mrs. Ingersoll.
Yes.
Mr. Martell.
No.
Mrs. Ray
Yes.
and Mr. Scarrow.
Yes.
We have no school gifts to present this evening.
Okay. 2023 summer school budget.
Traditionally, the school boards approve the summer school budget before we actually start the summer school program. Part of the reason for that is because it crosses 2 fiscal years. So technically there's a June and July portion. So it's kind of why we put it together in this format. Mr. Frost is our coordinator for the summer school program. Is very similar to past years. It'll do 2 weeks in June, 2 weeks in July. The first through 8th grade will be at the middle school, getting ready for kindergartens here at Jackson, and then the high school will have the 9, 12. The high school program runs a little longer, I think, for getting the credits necessary. So it's like a week before and a week after during the July 4th. They don't have session at that point. But that's kind of the breakdown of the budget, the transportation piece. It aligns with our existing budget in terms of summer school. So.
How many kids do we typically have?
Oh boy. Yeah.
Okay.
And for summer school, sometimes they'll take like a full all the morning. Sometimes they'll maybe take a class or two. So what we need to do is we need to track what's called the minutes of instruction. So we'll do that as a calculation at the end of the summer school session. And for last year, it bounced back up to around 74, 75 students. During the pandemic, it was lower than that. But at that level, we're able to count 40% of that as part of our revenue cap calculation. So that equates to about what the cost of the summer school program is. So it almost balances out. And sometimes we've heard districts will get into financial constraints and they'll cut their summer school program. But if they aren't thinking it through, it's also going to reduce the revenue cap corresponding to. So we've been kind of watching that every year to kind of match that up. So in a sense, it almost kind of pays for itself relative to that way. Plus it gives us additional state aid because we're getting additional student help.
Yeah. So from what I'm able to ascertain from the numbers here, the budget is slightly under what our revenue is going to be from.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I'm sure I know the answer to the question, but so it's a summer school swimming under the high school level. I'm assuming that's like just the swimming class
It is,
over there.
yeah.
Okay.
It's not really high school swimming.
Right.
No, it's-
Okay.
Yeah,
Good question.
I believe it's the Red Cross program, right? The different levels that they.
Yeah, she can Chris.
The budget, this year compared to last year, more or less about the same.
About the same.
Is it normal, and this is for all school board members, is it normal for the elementary school to be almost 100,000 in high school? The actual school portion will be like 26. I mean, is there so few high school students actually going summer school during this time? I mean,
The number of course offerings. Yeah, so the list at the elementary level is pretty extensive in terms of course offerings. And high school, it's much fewer. It's more than it was years ago, to be honest with you, but it's fewer.
Yeah.
A lot of kids try and take their health class during the
no,
summer.
yeah, absolutely. I personally expected high school, but summer school to be much higher in cost than the elementary school. But I mean, it makes sense. I mean, honestly, I know my kids don't want to do anything during the summer. I expect they do. So
It's the high school courses are credit bearing courses with the work. They're academically, and since the elementary, middle school are more enrichment and
Every kid for 30 years wanted to take marching band with Mr. Stevens.
Right.
Passage. So-
Yep.
And I believe the high school may have, around 200 total students that take summer school classes, the K-8 level. So it's, a larger, it's 3/4 of our district. They're that summer school.
So when we're looking at this as elementary level, middle school level, high school level, et cetera, is this, and the only reason I ask is because the summer school swimming board budgets in the high school, there are some classes that are held at, I know, middle school level over at the high school. Are those included in the high school levels, or is that part of the middle school level? For example, last year I know that we had a basketball
Yeah, it'd be
class.
K-8, it'd be in that elementary. middle.
Maybe
Okay, so that would
even
be
though it's low
elementary.
paid, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we have students going back and forth. We have a shuttle bus between the high school bills, so we started that a few years ago too, especially for the swimming program.
Any other questions, discussion? If not, I have to entertain a motion, please.
I'll move to approve the 2022 summer school budget as presented.
Second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the 2023 summer school budget as presented. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Gayheart,
Yes.
Mr. Gaddy,
Yes.
Mrs. Ingersoll,
Yes.
Mr. Martell,
Yes.
Mrs. Ray,
Yes.
Carol.
Yes.
Okay. Any,
Just a couple of quick announcements. We have a personnel committee meeting scheduled for April 6th at 11 a.m.
that's actually incorrect.
Oh,
It's been rescheduled
that's right.
to, I think it's the 17th, whatever that Monday. Yeah, I think it's the 17th.
April 17th at 11 a.m.
Let me double check. I have it from noon to 1:30 is what it's in the calendar for.
I have it into 1:30 as well. Thank you. Personnel committee meeting April 17th from 12 to 1:30. That's to go over handbook and recommended changes. The election canvas will take place April 11th at 8:30. Then I did include a hyperlink to a recent Wisconsin Association of School Boards press release related to state funding and the issue which we've spoken to many times at our referendum presentation.
So I haven't received anything about the meeting that we were just discussing.
Oh,
Is there,
that's-
was that said before I was put on or?
No, so the personnel committee that invitation would go specifically to
To
the
people
people who are
on-
on the personnel committee.
Thank you.
As a
Okay.
school board member, you are more than welcome to attend.
Okay.
And the public is also welcome to attend. But yes, it's just that once the election happens, then there will be, a reassignment of committees and you'll be placed on
Okay.
committees of
Makes sense. I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
What time was that on? You said the 16th, correct? Correct.
the 17th,
I'm sorry.
Or
17th.
17, from
Yeah.
noon to 1:30.
noon to 1:30.
Perfect. Thank you.
I just compliment Ms. Leopold for excellent job managing and going through the first board meetings.
Thank you. Got thrown in the fire. So, I'd like to see a motion to adjourn. If there's-
I'll make a motion to be.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Gayheart,
Yes.
Mr. Gatton,
Yes.
Mrs. Ingersoll,
Yes.
Mr. Martell,
Yes.
Mrs. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Carroll.
Yes.